Good evening, Canada. We are back with our show, Voice of Canada. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my female co-host, Ghada Hamdani. And we have got a very, very dynamic VIP guest, MPP Rudy Cuzetto, who is coming to our show for the second time. We welcome you, Rudy. Introduce yourself with your designation and for which ministry you are the Parliamentary Assistant.
Thank you, Aspie. I'm Rudy Cuzetto, the Member of Provincial Parliament for Mississauga, Lakeshore, and Parliamentary Assistant to the Ministry of Energy and Electrification, and formerly as the Parliamentary Assistant to the President of the Treasury Board of Ontario.
Welcome, Rudy.
Thank you.
Okay, Rudy, you've shown a long-standing dedication to Mississauga Lakeshore communities. What drives this commitment and how does it shape your approach to representing and serve the people there?
Well, you know, my father immigrated to Port Credit in 1952.
Wow.
And my mother came a little bit after in 1958 to Port Credit. So we've always been there. We've never left the community. And 4 generations of Cuzettos have lived in Mississauga Lakeshore. And I believe being born there, at the original hospital, it was called the South Peel Hospital at the time, is very important to be part of the community and love the community. And that's what I do in that community because I was born, raised, I've never left.
A Lakeshore boy.
Yes, a Lakeshore boy. And I've seen a lot of changes in the community and a lot of them are for the better. Tell you the truth, when I was growing up in that community, it was not as nice as it is today. I was made fun of because I lived south of the railway tracks, and it was, at the time, it was an industrial community there. We had the Texaco refinery where my father worked in 1953. I grew up right in front of a refinery in a little house at 23 Mississauga Road South, which today is still known as the Cuzetto Residence under the Home Heritage Act. So, and if you go over the bridge where the Crooked Q is today, the door on the left-hand side was my grandfather's shoe repair in 1958 with the movie theater, The Vogue. And even my little Constid office today, but before that building was built, it was a White House, which was my family doctor. So I've never left the community.
You have the old memory, the oldest memories of Mississauga.
But like I always say, the community has changed, and I think it's changed for the better.
For the better.
And, you know, there are more people, I understand, but people bring prosperity. And that's how I look at it.
And it will be a costliest place now, as far as the condos and all are come, the lake front condos are coming. It's going to be very costly and in high demand.
Yes, but that's everywhere around the world when you're on water, right? Everybody wants to be on water.
Usually it has been of Eastern European people.
Correct.
Mostly.
Correct.
And the Italians, Eastern European people, they have stayed there.
Yes. And, you know, other communities are coming in, which is great. It's so nice to see different communities getting together and living in the...
That is the basic fiber of Canada.
Correct.
Rudy, you have been an MPP for last 6 years. Am I right?
Correct.
You were elected in 2018. Correct. And just now it's nearly, we are passing 2024, which is third quarter. The fourth quarter has started already. So you just give us a brief what you have done in 6 years.
Well, what our government and myself have done in overall and in Mississauga Lakeshore. I always like to talk about the riding that I represent, but overall we are rebuilding healthcare that was neglected for many years. I don't know if you remember the former Minister of Health, George Smitherman.
Smitherman.
He had said on TV, I think it was on TVO, he said that he had starved healthcare, and it's not spoken enough. And even the former Premier of Ontario, Kathleen Wynne, said that she had starved health care, and if she
neglected.
And she said that if she had known a pandemic was coming, she would never have starved health care. So I look at just health care alone. In 2017-18, health care was funded at $59.4 billion, and today we're funding it at $85 billion. And that's not including the $50 billion to build hospitals. In Mississauga Lakeshore, we're building the largest hospital.
We are going to discuss the hospitals and all in the later stage.
Okay, no problem.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's been a speculation that Premier Doug Ford may call for early election in 2025. So it's ahead of schedule of the federal election. So what do you think is driving him to call for it? for this decision, and how it's going to impact Mississauga, Lakeshore specifically, and Ontario in general?
Well,
The whole
I'll tell you the
Ontario.
truth. There's nothing that he has said that he is going to call an early election. Colin DeMello and a lot of the other news outlets have said that we were going to call an election this fall.
Mhm.
Well, fall is almost over and there's no election called, right? So, you know what? People can speculate. I'm ready to, be there until 2026. And in June of 2026, I'm ready to go to our next election.
Okay, that's
No,
good.
but even your whole caucus is practically knocking the doors. They have started.
Well-
The ministers and everybody, the provincial ministers,
Right.
So which gives an open signal to the people that the
Well,
elections are going to take place.
Well, you know what? And I think that's good that I knock on doors from day one. And I think it's very important because a lot of politicians just knock on doors just before an election.
Yeah.
I've been knocking on doors since 2018. I keep knocking on doors all the time because I want to be part of the community. I don't want to be told by a resident one day saying, you only come
never
around
came, yeah.
or you just come around
After your election.
during the election. I want to be there all the time so I can hear the concerns
You
of
have
my...
kept a good contact
you know?
with the people
Yes,
and of your riding.
I think that's very important.
And even all over Ontario, you have been widely seen the work you did during pandemic.
Thank you. I know that was a difficult time, but yes, I
But
was
you
out.
did fantastically, really good job, because I remember there were some few of my friends who were in the food industry, and they gave the food to you, and you were collecting and supplying to the
Correct.
people, real needy ones,
Yes,
who needed food and meals.
and
I
I
was
think
the
that was
only one.
I
I was the only one.
Yes, I was the only one, and I was criticized too
yes,
from the former mayor of Mississauga. She did not want me out there, but I said I don't care. I'm going to be out there support.
She was not doing anything.
And that's how I look at it. I'm going to support the people that need support because it's a difficult time right now, and we don't know what's happening at this present time, right?
That's true.
Rudy, now let's talk about the hospital project, which is a very, very prestigious project. And not only the 24-story tower, but we also want to talk about the smaller tower, which is coming at the Trillium in Sherway Gardens, Etobicoke.
Okay.
So can we start with the Trillium tower as the foundation laid? The work started?
Yeah, the work has started at the Sherway site. We were there I think it was about 6 months ago to cut the ribbon to start the construction. It is underway. The parking structure has been completed there. And
Yeah, they have contributed. Beautiful parking structure.
Because people have to understand, you got to build a parking structure because you're using the parking lot to develop the hospital. So you have to build the parking.
That is ready.
Right, it's ready.
It's
People
ready.
So now the construction has is underway. There's already 2 cranes on site, and they're starting to build.
So
that.
the tower is coming on the Sherway side?
Correct.
Oh, 24-story one.
No. That's
The
not
smaller one.
That's the smaller one. Now the larger hospital will be at the Queensway Inn here, Ontario, where Trillium, where I was born. It was called the South Peel Hospital when I was born, and I'm not going to mention the year that I was born in.
No, you're a young man. We know you are. You're just a young, bright man.
But I was there the other day looking at them taking down the Camilla Care has been taken down. The existing medical building has been is underway as they're taking it down, and the former parking structure will be taken down. As soon as those are all cleared out, we're going to start construction from the corner of Queensway and here, Ontario, all the way to the existing hospital. And once the building is completed, and it'll be 24 stories high, 70,000 square feet, 23 surgical rooms, and the largest emergency center in North America.
And how many beds are to be added?
Almost 1,954.
About 1,000,
yeah,
approximately
about 1,000 beds, right? And like I said, this hospital will have state-of-the-art equipment, and I can't wait for it to be
So
complete.
it is true that this will be the largest hospital in North America?
In Canadian history.
Canadian history.
Yes. Yes, it will
which
be.
Including the American hospitals also. America has
There
got
could,
hospitals.
yeah, they do. But I'll tell you the truth. I don't have the exact figures on it, but it might be the largest in North
America.
Yes, because you got to think about 24 stories is 24
Premier's announcement. He said it will be the largest.
Yeah, but 24 stories is not 24 condo stories. 35 stories as a condo, right? Because hospital stories are much higher, right?
Much higher.
Right.
So when is the emergency going to be operational?
Well, I can't give an exact date on that because we haven't started to build yet, and I don't want to, preempt when we're going to be completed. Right?
Emergency at the Sherway Gardens.
Oh, you mean at Sherway Gardens?
There is no
sorry.
emergency services.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you meant the emergency at Sherway. I think the emergency services are underway right now. at Sherway.
Really?
Yeah.
Because still we have not heard, and lots of people asking.
but-
We are facing lots of difficulties because the ambulance come and they take them to Trillium or the Credit Valley or some other.
But they've
hospital.
opened up their urgent care center right there. I was there when they opened up that urgent care center at the
But that is
Queensway.
not an emergency.
Right.
Still. So just try to find out because
Okay.
lots of people are inquiring about the emergency open at Sherway.
Sherway. Okay, no problem. I will look into that for you.
Well, they are separating actually patients. That one, let's say, for example, Trillium is for heart issues.
And that's what we've been doing for many years.
For the bones. I had my
Yes.
2 surgeries at the Sherway.
Right.
The bone is all shifted to Sherway.
Yeah. Oh, just like Credit Valley does its heart, right? Heart is at the Mississauga.
Mississauga.
Cancer is at
Credit is the cancer
yeah.
portion,
So every hospital has their specialties, and I think that's better for the patient too, right?
But the merging of hospitals into one unit has caused lots of problem for the near end residents. Previously, before this merger of Trillium hospitals together, we used to always utilize the facilities at Credit Valley because being near to our place. And for others, they used to go to Trillium. Then Sherway people used to go to that side. So now it is for each and even small test also, we are sent to Sherway Gardens.
But that's because they have specialties in every house. Look at Toronto. Look, Toronto General is a heart institute, right? That's where I had my heart valve done 14 years ago because their specialty is heart surgery, right?
But UHN is very close to each other. You have seen the University Road. Those combined hospitals.
Yeah, there's about three or four hospitals
very close by.
Right. Yeah, correct.
We're going back to pandemic. It was, as we said, it's like you were well known for hands-on efforts to provide, essential stuff and items to people. So can you talk about those we had challenges, of course, Can you talk about the challenges
faced and how you faced it?
Yes, exactly. How you faced it, how did you support the residents? So
give us a full detail because you did a lot of work and we have witnessed it.
Right. Well, it was uncharted waters, right? We didn't know. We've never in our lifetime we've never had a pandemic. We've never had a
dreamt of even
pandemic. So it was difficult for even government, MPPs or anybody. During the pandemic, my office was open. I'll tell you the truth. I did not close my office. The door was open. You could open the door. I'd recommend we had the glass shield and everything because people would call my office too.
Yes.
And
and your staff was on duty.
They were on duty on the office. They were wearing masks. They were social distancing, and I thought it was important because I didn't want it to go to a voicemail and let them call or we call them back later. I thought it was important that we would answer the phone for them and tell them what we're doing, where we're going to end up, and hope that everything would turn out because we didn't know at the beginning. That's why nobody. If someone tells me they knew what was going to happen, it's impossible.
No, it was sudden
nobody
shock.
knew.
It was taken by shock. Everybody.
And you always look at what could you have done better. It's very easy to say what you could do better afterwards, right?
No, fantastic job
but I think
done.
what we did. We saved more lives than any other jurisdiction in North America. I think, we were locked down a lot, but I think it was good that we were because, we wanted to keep as many people safe as possible.
Plus the vaccine also arrived right in time.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And we were vaccinating very quickly as we could with the amount of vaccines we had.
That also you were conveying to the people of Ontario of which days, how to go about, how to call, who to call. And all that stuff. So you did a lot of good work.
Yeah, and we had to listen to the doctors too, because let's be honest, I'm a politician. I'm not a doctor, so healthcare is not my top.
Doctors,
Correct, and we had to listen to what if they told us we should do this. That's what we did. We listened to the doctors.
And every morning we had a bulletin up from the doctor.
Correct.
On CP24.
Yes.
And every morning people were used to hearing him. What is happening? How many deaths are there? What precautions are further needed? How the vaccines will be given and lots of stuff.
And and I'll tell you the truth, a lot of people died in long-term care, and we had started because of the neglect from the previous government. If you remember, they had only built 611 beds through the province of Ontario, right? But we had started to get rid of the quads. That means 4 people in a room. We were going back to the 2 and the 1. But the pandemic hit, so we had to pivot again because of the pandemic. And that's why right now, if you notice, we're building 30,000 new long-term care beds and 28,000 rebuilt beds. Those are the quads.
So those long-term care units will be owned by the government or in private sector?
Both. and I'll tell you, Mississauga Lakeshore, in one location on Speakman Drive, it's called the Wellbrook Place. We built 632 beds in that.
Beds.
Brand new,
Wow,
right? And it's going to have the first ever hospice there. It's already underway,
Hospice along with, okay.
as well, and we are doing dialysis there too. Right, and the dialysis for the residents of outside any area that's probably mostly local because that's what you want.
Definitely.
But like, can you imagine? We built 632 beds in one location when the previous government only built 611 beds across the whole province of Ontario.
Wow.
They neglected that.
We realized the value of the long-term care the pandemic time.
But,
The eyes opened. Everybody opened their eyes.
Yes.
How they were neglected, how the people died.
Right.
They were the most vulnerable sort.
And I agree. And that's why we're putting even another $1 billion into home care too. Because I think home care is very important. If a senior could stay in their own home as long as they can, why shouldn't they stay in their own home?
That is the best way to treat a senior.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, if you look at my background, Italian, my mother lived on her own, right, till her 90th birthday when she went into the hospital for shingles. I'll tell you the truth.
Shingles.
Right, and she passed away 6 days after her 90th birthday. But she was able to live in her own home, and I think it's so important that a senior can live in their home.
But for everybody and every family, it's not possible. Also, there are circumstances, family to family, case to case.
And I agree. That's why for some people living at home, I think for the majority, if they can, they'd rather live at home. Right. But for the ones that can't, we have to build long-term care, and that's what we're doing. Right?
We'll be taking a short break, and we'll be with you soon. Welcome back after a short break. Your host Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my co-host Ghada Hamdani, and we have a dynamic MPP Rudy Cuzetto from Mississauga Lakeshore riding.
Thank you.
And a parliamentary secretary on energy.
Correct.
Am I right?
Correct.
And your immediate minister is Stephen Lache.
Yes, it's Stephen Lache, yes.
After Todd Smith.
Correct,
yes. Correct.
Well, okay, then we're going to pass the question though. Okay. Yeah, so with the new education minister, we'll go to the education. Jill Dunlop, now overseeing this critical portfolio. How is she addressing the challenges within Ontario's education system privately and, the government, it's like the public and the private sector?
Well, what we've done with education, I don't know if you remember, the previous government had closed down 600 schools in the province of Ontario. We've opened up 100 new schools since we took office in 2018. We put in a ban now for cell phones for students so they can't go.
This year.
And I think, and we're going back to basics. I think it's very important that we learn the basics instead of learning about other things. I think basics are very important to get our children where they have to be moving forward. I have two sons. They're out of the elementary and high school level. They're finished university now. But I remember as a parent before I was elected, my older one, Michael, which now is he just passed his CPA exam, so he's his math skills were very terrible, and I had to put him in. I was lucky because I was working for Ford Motor Company in Oakville, and I was able to support my son and finance putting him into Kumon and Sylvan because he was suffering with his math skills, and now he's a CPA, which I'm very proud. Right?
Dedication and attention.
Yeah, but a lot of parents can't do that. Let's be honest. So the education system, we're trying to improve it, and there's a lot of work that is been done. It was done, and a lot of work that still has to continue to be done. Right?
Would you throw some light on the last week incident happened in Toronto? When the students joined a rally, which was not for the indigenous people, but it was a political. And that has created a lot of uproar, and even the premier has talked 2-3 times on TV about it. And the investigation has been called.
Yeah, and there's an investigation by the Minister of Education, and I don't want to comment on it until the investigation is completed, right? But yes,
because still our children are not meant to go for political protests.
And I agree, they shouldn't. Our children are there to learn in school, and I think that's the important thing. Field trips are very important, but the field trips are that they learn, and not a political protest of any sort, right?
Okay, we'll go back to the energy sector.
Okay.
So you're the parliamentary assistant of energy. So what's the focus on
Well,
energy?
the focus on energy, a lot of us don't realize that if we go over to the electric car by 2030 to 2050, we're going to need approximately 88,000 megawatts of electricity in our grid. And right now we have approximately 35,000 megawatts. That's if all our nuclear is working, all our solar is working, all our wind is working, our gas power is working, and our hydroelectric is working. So you never have 35,000 megawatts of electricity at one time. So we have every time, like during the summer months when everybody has their air conditioning, right? We have to once we hit 26,000 megawatts, we have to buy electricity. So we have
across the border
from pretty well from U.S. states or even Quebec. I'll tell you the truth. At one time, Quebec had a lot of electricity. They do not have that electricity anymore. And for us to attract more companies to Ontario, we have to build more electricity, more nuclear
power plants.
more SMRs, which are small modular reactors, and that's what is underway right now as we refurbish some of our big nuclear fleet. The thing is, like, if you look at Quebec, they were once a supplier of electricity. They aren't, and we want to be the supplier for the world, really, for North America, for the U.S. and Quebec. And if we can build up to 88,000 megawatts of electricity by 2050, we'll be able to do that. But not only that, if you don't have enough electricity, these companies that we attracted, as you heard, we attracted $44 billion of automotive investment into Ontario. We have brought in Honda, we brought in VW, Volkswagen. This is going to be one of the fourth largest building in the world. It's going to be 1.5 kilometers wide and 1 kilometer long.
Wow!
Like, this is to build.
Huge complex.
To build batteries here in Ontario. So this is very important. If you don't have electricity, you can't attract these companies. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to build our grid. And companies do not go anywhere except Ontario, if you notice, because we have a very clean electricity grid.
Because it's a nuclear energy, am I right?
Yes, nuclear and what's it called? And water, right?
Water and solar.
Hydroelectric. Solar and wind are very, very little. Because I was at the IESO and I was watching the board. Nuclear is the number one, then hydroelectric, then natural gas, and then solar and wind, right? And natural gas is there really in case we need more electricity real quick, and that's when we use natural gas.
To convert to natural gas.
Well, we start firing up the natural gas plants, right? So it's all controlled in one location, right? It's in Mississauga, right? And I'm very proud, to be honest, to have it in my riding, right? And it's a whole big board, switchboard, and you should see this. And
so it's in Lakeshore?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
The big plant, which is...
It's not a plant, it's just the control panel for all electricity in the province of Ontario.
So the secondary station is going to be on Lakeshore, or the main station is going to be
This is the main control center for the province of Ontario.
But it won't pollute that.
No, this is just a room that is really control room, right? There's no power plants, there's nothing like that.
Well, like we all know, the nuclear is the old-fashioned, is the number one, actually, is the best, right? But now with the trend, everybody calls for green energy. So how are you handling this file?
Well, but be honest, nuclear.
With the nuclear,
No, nuclear is clean. That's the thing. It's the one.
Nuclear is the cleanest.
It's the cleanest.
But no, the green people, they call it like, okay.
But the thing is, you need base.
They're manipulating.
But look at this. You need base power. Now, solar and wind is great. That's why we're procuring 5,000 megawatts solar, wind, and gas. Right? Let them. Like, they're procuring it, but they can't be base electricity. You need nuclear or hydroelectric for base, right? And that's why. And if you remember, when we were newly elected, they wanted to close down Pickering. The NDP and the Liberals were going to get rid of 5,000 jobs, close down Pickering. We're refurbishing all these plants, and we're building SMRs. I don't know if you know, we're the only country in the world right now. Right, in the province of Ontario, we're building the full-scale SMR, which is a 300 megawatts it's small. It's by Hitachi. It's very small. It's the size of probably less than a football field. And we'll create 300 megawatts. And the world is watching us as we're building this because we'll be the first. Right? Wow. I was in Greece during the summer, and they're all aware of what we're doing here. Romania is looking at us. Poland is looking at us. Hungary. the Hungarian, I met with the Hungarian Consul General and area. They are looking at Ontario right now as we're building this full scale SMR, and we're on budget right now and we're on time. So let's get it underway.
But Rudy, you must have been to Windsor, and on the way to Windsor, we see plenty of those wind ones.
Yeah.
But are they successful? There's so many.
Well,
you're unable to count also while driving.
Well, you know what? I don't have like if the community wants them, yes, let them have them. But if the community does not want them, like the previous government, they forced them in these communities. But say like let's say a city like London, Ontario. I'm just using it as an example. Wants solar? Why not? Let them build some. The only thing is that people have to realize every every wind turbine is approximately 3 megawatts. So that's not much.
But in Mississauga, when you will recall, when we opened our new station metro at Lisgar, there was a wind generating first installed, and in 2 years' time, it could not produce the electricity for the station only.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's only 3 megawatts.
They had to remove.
You got to remember, it has to be 3 megawatts when the wind is at perfect speed. Everything has to be perfect.
Direction and wind.
Right?
Yeah. Not only that, the space and the pollution, by the way, with the sound it generates, it's like it hurts the people lives there, and you need a huge field. So it's like it's a waste.
Well, I'm not saying it's a waste. I'm saying that we're putting it in the mix as well, and I think it's important to have solar and wind. But have it there, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because why not, right? Why not? Like 5,000 megawatts. If we can produce 5,000 megawatts between solar and wind, why not? Allow the market to dictate that, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you served in different committees. So would you tell us a little bit, more about that, and what is the planning for the future?
Well, I serve right now in the Interior, the Committee of the Interior, where we meet every Monday. Right now, we've had ministers come in, and because they've been asked to come in to present, what they're doing, how much they're spending in this, and I'm there at the committee, asking questions as well. And the NDP are there. The Liberals don't show up, but they have a seat there too. But it's very important that we listen to what the minister is doing and where our intentions are going forward. Right. Before that, I was part of the Finance Committee when I was at Treasury Board, and we used to travel around the province of Ontario as well, and Northern Ontario, because a lot of people from Northern Ireland couldn't come to Queen's Park for their because it was too far for them. So we would go to them and listen to their concerns in their communities, right?
Rudy, let's go to the most important topic, which is traffic. Also has taken a very significant turn now in last few years. We have got traffic jams and lots of things are being done, and people are talking because people waste a lot of time commuting from their place of work and back home. So our government, means the government of Ontario, merged the Presto into all the services, and even Mississauga Transit is included in it. So that's a very good thing. Can you outline what it was then and how the people can also save money also?
Right. Well, the great thing about it is that now you can use Mississauga Transit, GO Train, and TTC, and only pay one fare. You pay the highest fare, which it would be the GO Train service. But all you have to do is, if you have a Presto card, you have to tap that Presto card, and all it does is reimburse and charge. You reimburse. So it does it automatically. And if you have a credit card, you can do it with your credit card, but you got to use the same credit card. You can't change credit cards, or, on your. But it's going to save a commuter that uses transit every day approximately $1,600 a year. Wow. And this is part of getting people out of the automobile, right? Because yes, you're right. There is a lot of gridlock in the GTA. But the thing is that I believe that we have to build transit, but we have to build roads as well, highways as well. Because you can't just build transit. Like my saying is that, with the $44 billion of automotive investment in Ontario, I've never seen a company put their goods on transit, right? They need highways and
Definitely.
rail,
Highways
right?
are the main.
Because you have to bring the part into the plant, right? So, transit, yes, to get commuters, it's stuck in gridlock, 100%. But if we have all this investment coming to Ontario, which I'm so proud of, because we've created 800,000 new jobs in Ontario, right? This is important that we have to build more highways to get these parts right into these plants just in time. I used to work at Ford Motor Company, and it was all just in time. So if a truck is stuck on the highway, right, and is delayed 30 minutes, that means production is delayed 30 minutes. That costs the company a lot of money. And if the company cannot make money, let's be honest, they're going to leave Ontario, right? They're going to go to another jurisdiction where they. So we got to, do this, because these are all well-paying jobs for Ontario workers, our young children, right?
Since yesterday, Rudy, there is a talk of the town that Premier announced while having a press conference that he wants to build a tunnel from Mississauga to Scarborough.
Yeah, that's
But
amazing.
the tunnel is not a joke to make a build. We are stuck up at Eglinton, the subway which we are making for years, and few businesses collapsed. They have closed their businesses and gone to other locations, and still the government doesn't have a date to reopen the Eglinton subway.
Yep.
So is it a good feasibility idea? Because making tunnel all the way from Mississauga to Scarborough is not it's the most gigantic project.
Yeah, it would be the longest tunnel in the world right now.
In the world, yeah.
But you spoke about the Eglinton Crosstown. We inherited that project. It wasn't a project. It wasn't a project that we had started.
No, we inherited.
And that doesn't help either, because we're working with what we had. Yes, it has been delayed, and I wish it wasn't delayed. But we're working on trying to get that.
Because every year we just hear that soon you will hear the date of opening.
Right, and the highways, like the tunneling, I think it's a great idea, because if you look at the 401, it's gridlocked. And the funny thing is, the people that do complain are the ones that are not on the 401. Because if you take the 401 every day, you'd be complaining. You want another way to get, to Toronto, or to Scarborough, or another way to Mississauga, Brampton.
And 3 hours from Toronto, if you get, it's like once you hit Toronto from to Mississauga, 3 hours, you could stuck, every day.
And I remember too, the Gardner or the Queen Elizabeth. My brother used to live downtown and on St. Clair, and he used to work in Port Credit, and he would come in the morning to Port Credit, no traffic, and then he would go to Toronto after work with no traffic. Now, if you notice, there's traffic going downtown Toronto, like at 3:30, 4 o'clock at night. So things have. We have to build roads, but we have to invest in transit, and that's what we're doing. We're investing $71 billion into transit, right, and $28 billion into roads. And this was before the announcement. Now that's going to change now, because this tunnel that we're talking about under the 401 will be something that we're looking forward to do. We're going to do an assessment now to see the costs and everything. And not only that, we're going to be building transit too under the 401. So, in this way, we're not only going to have cars, we're going to have transit running too, right?
So that's why we are also hearing the news from our people of Ontario, and especially GTHA, insisting on the government that we should open up 407, because 407 has become unaffordable practically. But going one way is 30, for example, from Mississauga to Markham, it will cost you $30 one way.
Actually,
so it's not feasible. $60 coming and going, they pay onto the highway plus the gas. So there should be something to be done for the people. During peak hours, either the rates are reduced and the 407 people can use and immediately reach their destination.
Well, the 407, we leased it out. We didn't sell it. We leased it.
Leased it out. And the lease expires in which year?
I don't know exactly the year. It was a long lease.
Long lease, yeah.
But the thing is, we do collect revenue from the 407. A lot of people don't realize that. The province does collect revenue from it, because as a lease, it's like you lease your place. You collect, money, right? So we've leased it out, and we are collecting money from it. But the problem is that we've done the studies that in the next 10 years, every highway in the province of Ontario will be gridlocked, right? So that's including the 407. And that's why we're building the 413 and the Bradford bypass. I think that's very important, because this way we can hook around the city and get to the locations that we have to get to.
That's good.
Go ahead.
Looking ahead, should you secure a third term
Yeah.
And what are the projects and what would you like to champion? What's your plan to secure the third term?
Okay, I've put my name forward to run in the next provincial election. My goal is really to complete a lot of these projects that we've started, right? You know, like we were able to complete the long-term care. That was on an accelerated build. You know, seeing the hospital start the construction of the new building, as well as see the projects like the Queen Elizabeth Bridge being completed, as seeing the LRT being completed up here, Ontario, and you know, working towards some of the goals that I've been working with, like building an ability center at the Brightwater development. That's like the ability center up in Oshawa. We're trying to bring one down here. You know, another GO train platform on the Lakeshore line, part of the Lakeview development. Like I'm looking at all these things to complete them and bring forward, and just building a better Mississauga Lakeshore and a province of Ontario.
Well, that's very good.
Yeah, we are very sure that, God willing, you will be re-elected for the third term if elections are held, because this is the right time to hit when the iron is hot. Am I right?
Well, you know what? Elections are, you know, you don't underestimate anything, right? That's how I always looked. Work hard all the time. All the time.
And at that pace.
And then, you know what? You know, let the people of the riding, you know, vote for you. If they think you've done a good job, you know, you're never going to be perfect. I'll tell you that right now. You know, if we were all perfect, we'd probably be doing other things in life. You know, but I recognize when I'm not perfect, and when I, you know,
rectify
the issues, and not only and try to, you know, listen to everyone. And I think it's very important. Even if you don't agree with someone, you have to listen to them, because everybody has their own point of view, and I think it's important to listen to everyone.
Because our production is giving us the signals that our time is, we have overshooted even 40 minutes. But will you give a quick reply what you are doing for the food banks? Because now 58% demand has increased. So are you seriously working on food bank issues in Mississauga? And Mississauga's food banks are really overwhelmed.
Yes, and they are. And that's why we're working as a government through our Minister, Michael Parsa, to see what we can do more for food banks in the province of Ontario. And, you know, it's a difficult time right now. You know, like I said, the interest rates federally are not helping a lot of this, and that's something that we have to get under control. The federal government and the Bank of Canada have to lower interest rates.
A big, I think, cut will come in the next thing. People are expecting about 50 cents.
Well, that's hope, because otherwise the housing market is going to suffer, and we need to build homes for our people, for our children. Never mind just everybody, just our children alone, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
So before we close, would you like to give the
final
remarks, message to?
Well, I want to tell the people of Ontario and Mississauga that the Ford government is working hard to make this province a better province for all of you. And, you know, sometimes you might not think we're going in the right direction, but all I tell people to do is look at the 2017-18 budget under the previous government and look at our budget and see the investment that we are making in the province of Ontario without raising a tax for the people of Ontario. Thank you.
So we wish you all the best, and thank you for coming to our show. It was overdue, and you made it. So we are really happy, because now all the politicians, especially from Queen's Park, are coming. After you, Natalia is supposed to come. She has accepted.
Okay.
And she wished to come. Sharif has already been to our show. So we wish you all the best. As you are aware, that we are a now major channel on Rogers and Isha also, plus 4 IPTV boxes, satellite channel, YouTube.
Wow.
So we are watched worldwide.
Good.
So whenever you have got any news or anything to give, just call us and we'll be delighted to have you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Aspi. I enjoyed this interview here today.
So with that note, we'll be signing off. Your host, Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my co-host, Ghada Hamdani, and our guest speaker, Rudy Cuzetto, would like to say good night, goodbye, God bless Canada, God save our King.